Hello everyone, Pulse here, and one of my favorite Twitters is the NHL Random Trade Bot, and today I will test out what would happen if those trades came true. I will put every trade in the game from June 15th to June 21st at 8:07 p.m. Eastern Time. This doesn't sound like a long time, but it is 156 trades. Trades that involve a player who is no longer on the same team, or the pick is no longer with the team, or because it involves a mascot will be disregarded as they're impossible. Also, trades involving a conditional draft pick or future considerations will be disregarded because I could not tell what the conditional draft pick is or the future considerations are. First up is the Ducks. They obviously lost Corey Perry, so they're really hurting now, but they got a few better depth players. Defense, they got Nick Leddy, so they improved a little bit, and in that they no longer have a really good tandem, they just have Gibson. Now to Arizona, they picked up two really good centers in Bergeron and Cizikas. Defense, they pretty much stayed the same, and in that they also stayed the same. Boston lost a lot. They got Corey Perry, but look at their center depth now. It's awful. On D, they got three good new defensemen. And in net, they still have Rosk, but now they pick back up Jones. Buffalo improved a lot. They got both two new centers. One of them's playing on the wings, and that's about it. Defensively, they're pretty much the same. And in that, now they have James Reimer along with Leonard, so they got a good tandem there. Calgary picked up a new winger from Monahan and Gaudreau, while also getting a second-line center. And on D, they also picked up three new defensemen. And in net, they got Kari Ramo and Eddie Lack, so that's a pretty good tandem. Carolina didn't get a lot on offense, with their biggest new player being Tommy Wingels. And then on defense, so they got two very good new defensemen in Hamonic and Hutton. And then in net, they're rolling with Ward and Darcy Kumper. The rich get richer in Chicago. They keep most of their core while also picking up Charlie Coyle and Jason Zucker from the Minnesota Wild. Defense, pretty much the same, except they now got a good top four defenseman in Klein, and in that they're still rolling with Crawford. Colorado picked up two new very good centers in David Krejci and Barkov. Defense, they also picked up Ryan Suter, one of the best in the NHL, and in that they stayed the same. Columbus didn't do much on offense. They picked up some minor players. Defense, though, they got now Muzzin, but they also lost Murray. And in net, they're rolling with Rosky, and they lost their backup. Dallas is one of the most interesting teams in this. They lost Jamie Benn, but as you can see, they got a brand new second line. They got some good depth players too. Defensively, they also got John Carlson, so their defense is really good now. And in net, they also got rid of Kari Lehtinen, but they kept Niemi. The Detroit Red Wings were one of the hardest hit. They lost Zetterberg and Larkin, as you can see the replacements for them aren't that good, Boys and Dorsett. Defensively, they also did not get much help getting Adam Party, and in net they roll with Mrazek and Howard still. Edmonton's big pickup on offense was Johan Franzen, so not much there, but on defense they have two new defensemen in Andy Green and Colton Paryanko, and in net they now have a number one goalie in Jacob Markstrom. For Florida, they got rid of Barkov, but they pretty much almost got the exact same player back. They also picked up Drew Stanford. And on defense, they got Mark Mathot. And that was about it for the defense that they got. Oh, Brian McNabb too. And Roberto Luongo still tending the net, with Jonas Gustafsson being the new backup. Los Angeles was another team that got hit hard without really getting anything back. They lost Jeff Carter, so their center depth has taken a huge hit. Defensively, they lost McNabb without getting anyone back. And then in net now they're still rocking Quick and Enroth. Minnesota lost Zach Parise, but they picked up Jeff Carter to be a number one center along with eating Andrew Shaw and Riley Nash. And then on defense they lost Suter, but they picked up three good defensemen with him, also Brendan Smith. And then in that they still have Dubnyk. Montreal picked up a lot of good players, getting Turris and Smith for their first line, and along with Wemberg, Janmark, Clutterbuck, and Chris Brown. Defensively though, they're pretty much the same. And in that they still have Price and Scrivens. The Islanders lost John Tavares, but they replaced him with Steven Stamkos and Patrick Sharp, along with Silverberg on the second line, and then William Nylander and Chris Neal on the fourth line. Delzato is their only new defenseman, and in that they still have Halak and Grice. New York's only addition on offense was getting two players back in Hagelin and Anisimov. On defense, though, they had a huge one getting Alex Pietrangelo, and in that they still have Lundqvist. Nashville gained a lot, but they lost Phil Forsberg. They gained Berglund, Plekanec, Reinhart, Bozak. And on defense, they gained Jason Garrison, but they also took a hit, losing a few good defensemen. And net, they still have their same goalies. The Devils picked up a few players to help them, but really not much that's going to push them over the edge. Boone Jenner probably being the best player. And then defense is pretty much unchanged except for a few minor moves. And then they have now a tandem of Corey Schneider and Frederik Andersen, which is probably the best in the league. Ottawa was probably the team that got the best out of this, as they got Backstrom, Galchenyuk, Forsberg, Henrik, Frolik, Chipchura, and Cullen. Defense, they also got Brody, and along with another top 4 defenseman. And in net, they still have Anderson, but they now also have Jonas Hiller to back him up. Philly picked up Henrik Sedin to be on their second line, along with getting a 4th liner in Zubris. On the defense, though, they're pretty much the same, except Alex Viega is now in their top 6. And goaltending, they have Mason and Tablet now. In Pittsburgh, they now have Malkin, Crosby, Kessel, Blake Wheeler, John Tavares, Patrick Hornquist, Chris Kreider, Nick Bonino, Chris Kunitz, Fair, Anderson, Smith. So somehow they got stronger out of this. They lost Chris Letang though, but it's still a good defensive pairing there. And in that they still have Fleury, but now they have Andrew Hammond to back him up. San Jose, who is trying to make another cup run in this simulation, lost Logan Couture but replaced him with Brian Little, Andrew Cagliano, Tyler Kennedy, and Jake Virtanen. On the defense, though, they really improved with Shea Weber, Matt Niskanen, too. So very good defensive pairing over there. And then net, now they have Michael Neuvrent, and they lost both of their starting goalies from last year. Or, well, both their goalies from last year, not both starting. St. Louis is another loser out of this. As you can see, they lost Backus and Laterra, and they didn't gain much back. Defensively, they lost Petrangelo, and again did not replace him. In net, they still have Allen and Elliott. Tampa Bay is going to have to go without Stamkos, but they did get Elias Lindholm to replace him, along with Emerson Edom on the 4th line. Defensively, they improved with Chris Letang, Murray, and Scandella. And in net, they still have Bishop and Vasilevsky. Toronto now has a very good first line with Parise, Zetterberg, and JVR. They also got Anders Lee, and besides that, they picked up 2 new 4th liners. On defense, they're really bad now with only 1 defenseman over 80. And in net, they still have Bernier. As a Canucks fan, I'm very happy with how Vancouver is getting Yakupov, Ben, Couture, Larkin, Cody Eakin. On defense, they still have the pretty much same defensive pair except for Stret and Eriksson. And in net, they still rocking Miller, but they need a new backup. Washington lost Nicholas Backstrom and replaced him with Melker Karlsson and McLeod McCallick. Defensively, they're really bad now, and they have a forward-playing defenseman as of now. I'm sure that will change when we get into the actual simulation. And in that, they now have a really good backup, I guess. Our final team in all of this, the Atlanta Thrashers, who got really bad. They lost a lot of good talent. They're not really good anymore. They lost so much. All players pretty much under 80. Defense, they're still very good. And in that, they still have Pavelec and Hutchinson. Alright, time to start the season. CPU trades are off, and same with injuries, so every team is stuck with the roster they have. And let's get into it. So we are currently at the All-Star break. The best team in the league is the Blackhawks, followed by the Penguins, Senators, Red Wings, Stars, Canucks, Maple Leafs, Flames, Lightning, and Bruin around at the top 10. And the worst team in the league is the Minnesota Wild. Currently, the league leader in points is Sidney Crosby, who has 62, followed by Kane, Backstrom, Taves, and Malkin. Alright everyone, it's the end of the season. In the West, your playoff teams are the Dallas Stars, Vancouver Canucks, Chicago Blackhawks, Predators, Kings, Flames, Avalanche, and Jets. And in the East, the Ottawa Senators, Pittsburgh Penguins, Toronto Maple Leafs, Tampa Bay Lightning, Detroit Red Wings, Boston Bruins, New York Islanders, and New Jersey Devils all made the playoffs. Your President's Trophy winner is the Dallas Stars, and your last place team, who gets Austin Matthews now, is the Minnesota Wild, who are 10 points below the next team. Your top scorer was Sidney Crosby, followed by Backstrom, Malkin, Kane, Ovechkin. And did anyone really exceed in their new home? McDavid had a bunch more points. Stamkos, 78. Really don't see any surprises in here. Paul Stastny, I guess, maybe 72. Anything really bad? Nyquist 67, maybe that's a little bit unbelievable. Nathan Gervey 65, nope, that's not happening. Alright, that's pretty good for the most part. Richardson 61, that's also not happening. So in the playoffs on the West, the Preds are taking on the Hawks, Jets versus Stars, Flames versus Kings, Canucks versus Avalanche, and then Islanders versus Devils, Penguins versus Red Wings, Maple Leafs versus Lightning, and Senators versus Bruins. So in the first round of the playoffs, the Chicago Blackhawks took down the Preds, Stars beat the Jets, Kings beat the Flames, Flames beat the Kings, and Canucks beat the Avalanche. On the eastern side, Devils beat the Islanders, Penguins beat the Red Wings, Lightning beat the Leafs, and Senators beat the Bruins. In the West, the Hawks beat the Stars and the Flames beat the Canucks. In the East, the Devils beat the Penguins and the Lightning beat the Senators. So in the third round, the Chicago Blackhawks are advancing to the Stanley Cup Finals over the Flames, and the Lightning are advancing over the Devils. So we have a rematch. This time, the Tampa Bay Lightning are your Stanley Cup champions, and they did it without Stamkos. It was all his fault. He was dragging them back. So yes, the Tampa Bay Lightning defeat the Chicago Blackhawks in 7 games. In the AHL, the Rochester Americans defeat the Manitoba Moose in 6 games, and they are your AHL champion. In AHL, Stanley Cup, of course, Lightning, Presidents, Stars. We've already been through all these. Player awards. The Art Ross goes to Crosby, Hart to Crosby, Norris to Carlson. That should have happened this year. Lady Beam to Kane, Calder to McDavid, Bishop for the Smythe, Niemi for Vesna. That's not gonna happen. Bill Masterson, also one that probably will not happen. Stahl for the Selke, I could see that. Crosby for Lindsay, and then Ovechkin for the Richard. Alright everyone, thanks for watching. If you have a suggestion for what I should do next time, leave it in the comments below, and bye. Bye.